The 2022 Toyota Tundra is going to dominate the industry. In fact, there are some leaks from a dealer presentation which prove it's going to dominate the industry. Let's take a quick look. Dominate. You see that? My name is Eric. I make videos for car and truck enthusiasts. If that is you, please slap a like in this video, consider subscribing if you're new, and let's get into it. So what can we gather from this sales presentation? Well, we certainly have some really cool looking LEDs. I'm seeing a couple in the bumper, I'm seeing some kind of light bar maybe in the center grille, and not a whole lot, although the headlights look to be significantly refreshed too. And we're going to look at some renders in just a little bit here. So not a lot that we can tell from this dealer presentation, but we do know that it's going to dominate. So what's going to happen with this domination? Well, Toyota is famously guarded with their leaks. They in fact are the Fort Knox of automotive leaks. They really don't let them out very much unless we're talking about the Supra, but really that was BMW that was leaking out all the information prior to the Supra. But traditionally, Toyota is pretty tight-lipped about that. I mean, how much have you heard about the new GR86 from Toyota? Not much, right? But now we have a little bit of new information on the new Tundra. Now we know that the Tundra is basically as old as the Arctic Tundra. It goes back to 2014 for at least the current generation. It was introduced in about 2000, the prior generation. So we're currently in the second generation, and it's about 14 years, which is about twice as long as a typical vehicle cycle now, which is somewhere between 6 to 8 years is sort of typical. So basically we're at double that. That's pretty long in a generational cycle. And even the 2014 was sort of a slight refresh, really, so we're going back to 2007 for the current generation. And that makes them not so competitive. If you remember, the F-150 was reintroduced as a brand new model in 2015, and they just did an update to it for the 2021 model line. And Ford has no less than 6 different power plants. So on the Ford website, we have a multitude of power plants. We have 6 of them. We have the 3.5 liter EcoBoost full V6 hybrid engine. We've got the 3 liter Power Stroke turbo diesel engine. We've got the 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6 engine. We've got the classic 5 liter V8, which has been around as old as the hills, and it's still going. We got the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine, and what else do we have? We have the 3.3 liter V6. So Ford has got all these different engine choices available. Where's Toyota with this? Let's take a look at what Toyota has to offer right now with the current Tundra. Okay, so here's the 2021 Toyota Tundra. If we go to specs, we've got this 5.7 liter engine, which has been around for a long time. I mean, it's pretty good. It makes 381 horsepower and 401 pounds-feet of torque. That's pretty good. It's the only engine that you can get right now in the Tundra, but if you look at the gas mileage, ooh, not that great. 13 city, 18 highway, 15 combined, so it's really not very good in terms of gas mileage. So this really makes the Tundra not that competitive. But there was a meeting recently with the Toyota National Dealer Advisory Council, and there's a guy there that, in fact, the president, Robbie Findlay. I mean, we've been waiting so long for a new Tundra, and we know the potential of that full-size truck market. And from everything they're telling us, we're going to have best in class. I mean, we're going to have a world beater, and it's going to be really fun to go toe-to-toe with the domestic trucks. Okay, so that's not giving us that much information, but we're going to get to that in a second. In fact, if we look at the sales figures, this is from goodcarbadcar.net. Look at the sales figures for 2020 of all of the domestically sold pickup trucks. Looking at the sales figures from month to month, you can see that the Ford F-Series, and this concludes the F-150 and also the Super Duty, which has the 250, the 350, and so on. There's a bunch of trucks in the Super Duty, so it's all combined. January of last year, they sold 70,596 units. What did the Tundra do? 7,100 units. Same story in February, 7,500 units. The F-Series, 67,000 units. So, you know, they've got a little bit of a way to go here. If we go all the way over to December, for example, so the Tundra is really not that competitive in this class, especially in the full-size truck class. It's not competitive at all. We got the Ram pickup selling about 35,000 units a month. In fact, quite a bit more than that. In December, they sold 56,000 units. The F-Series is selling a ton of trucks. We've even got the Chevy Silverado selling 37,000 in January and 53,000 in October. They're selling a lot of trucks too. So the Tundra's got a lot of ground to make up because this is a big truck market in the US, and I think Toyota wants to make a much bigger impact because really they haven't really done a lot of updates since 2014. They've just sort of been kind of sitting on their laurels a little bit. So one thing that we do know is that we're gonna probably get the new architecture, the Toyota TNGA, Toyota Next Generation Architecture F, which is for body on frame, ladder frame type construction. This is going to be for trucks, so I expect we're going to see this in a couple other vehicles across the Toyota lineup as well. And it looks like we're going to see that in the Sequoia in 2022, in the 4Runner, and the Tacoma. Now, in terms of engines, right now we've got this 5.7 liter V8, which I just showed you there. Makes pretty good horsepower, but let's see where we might get some additional power or additional powertrains from Toyota. So over here at Lexus, we have the LS, which is a lovely car, by the way. And let's take a look at the power plant that's in the LS. So in the LS 500, we have a V6 twin turbo. It's 3.5 liters, makes 416 horsepower, and it makes 442 pound-feet of torque. Of course, it's a 4-cam, 4-valve per cylinder, dual variable valve intake timing, yada, yada, yada. It's got all that good stuff. So I think this is the engine that we might see in the upcoming Tundra. Now, we know Toyota is big on hybrids. In fact, I just tested the Toyota Venza SUV. I've got a video on that. And right now, I've got the RAV4 Prime hybrid, which actually is unbelievably fast. I'm editing a video on that right now. I'll be releasing that pretty shortly. It's actually a great vehicle. So we've got hybrids. Okay, so in the LC hybrid land, we have a V6, 3.5 liter, making 354 horsepower. We don't exactly know what the torque is going to be yet, but I think it's going to be pretty good, and I'm expecting the fuel economy is going to be significantly better in this too. So I think in the Tundra, they're not going to be tuning it really for super high fuel economy. I think they're going to be optimizing for efficiency, which probably means pretty good torque and good fuel economy, like in the RAV4 that I've got. I've been getting 40 miles a gallon in hybrid mode and like 99 with just the electric motor engaged, so it's pretty impressive. So I think that might be something that we could expect to see in the Tundra. Maybe there'd be a full EV mode for a short period of time. Certainly we're going to get some kind of hybrid. They have to do it because Ford has just released the F-150 hybrid as well. So that's going to be available in the market if it's not already for sale right now. In fact, it is available. I just found one locally at $74,000, but it does have the 3.5 liter Power Boost full hybrid. So the suspension is a little bit of a mystery right now, but it looks like probably the leaf springs are going to go away. We know that Ram with the 1500 has basically moved to a coil setup in the rear, solid rear axle of course, but a coil setup. They're getting away from the leaf springs. Toyota's been hiding the suspension. We know that we have 6 lug wheels, which Automotive News says will indicate the redesigned Tundra's maximum tow rating will be higher than the current model's 10,200 pounds, as will the maximum payload of 1,730 pounds. Now there's some spy photos over at Motor One of the new Tundra. Can't see a whole lot here. The front does look to be, pretty covered up. It looks pretty covered up. We can't really tell a whole lot, and you can see that they're sort of hiding the suspension because we've got this street sweeper type view back here. So when you try to put a camera up underneath the rear bumper, you can't really see much from the suspension. We do have a couple of pretty nice renders from Motor Trend magazine, and I don't know how accurate these are going to be because these are renders, and like I say, the spy photos have been very hard to come by. looks like they're sort of taking the inspiration here from the headlights from that leaked video that we saw earlier here. So we have these headlights with obviously with LEDs. I don't see that we have the LEDs in the grille exactly here, but it looks like, you know, if we can believe the Motor Trend renders, it's going to be a much chunkier, much more aggressive looking truck. Probably a little bit in line with the current Toyota lineup, like the RAV4 is looking pretty chunky too. In the back of this render, it looks, I mean, what can we really tell from the back? It looks perhaps a little bit Ford-esque. I think it's got a pretty strong character line going across the doors here from the front fender all the way to the back, sort of bisecting the middle of the doors. And I mean, it's a pickup truck, so it's really more about how the front is going to look than the back, I think. Toyota has been doing a lot of safety features standard, and Toyota has committed to doing something called Toyota Safety Sense across their entire lineup. So I think we're going to see that in the new Tundra as well. In fact, I think it's an absolute certainty. It's got things like radar cruise control. It's got blind spot monitoring. It has automatic high beams, which are pretty nice. It's got lane tracing assist, it's got lane departure warning, and some of the more advanced features you can get as options include sort of a 3D bird's eye view from the top down of the vehicle. Expect to see all of that. Yes, that's my ringtone. It quacks a little bit. So the gas mileage is kind of a big issue for Toyota with this. I also drove the 4Runner recently and got absolutely terrible gas mileage, although they've got a less powerful engine. Right now they've got a 13 mpg, 17 mpg combined with the Tundra. Not very good. That's basically behind everybody in the segment. And of course, Nissan just released the new Frontier. Not exactly a direct competitor because this is more of a mid-size truck, but it does looks pretty good. A little bit less horsepower, mid-size, 310 horsepower on that. Hopefully I'll be able to get a review sample of the Frontier in the not too distant future. I'll let you know on that. So there's an industry analyst, Carl Brower, who now is executive publisher at CarExpert.com, and he says that Toyota's experience developing the current Tundra was unfortunate because the automaker's decision to upsize not the quite full-size Tundra to take on the domestic trucks in 2007 was expensive and ill-timed. We had the Great Recession of 2008, so Toyota went into that with a brand new truck. People were definitely not buying trucks at that point. I remember people were dumping them. You can get SUVs very, very inexpensively. Gas prices were spiking up, and that was a pretty tough time. So Toyota went into this market with a brand new truck. Not very good timing. He goes on to say, I think Toyota felt highly burned by the whole thing. That's not the Toyota way to suffer financially on a new product. And they did this partial update in 2014. Again, not that exciting. So he says, I think they're in a terrible position now, but they're committed. I know for a fact that when Toyota enters a market, usually they stick with it a pretty long time. They're kind of like Google, kind of like Facebook, kind of like Apple in this respect. Once they enter a market, they aim to dominate and get a lot of sales, and I think the Tundra hasn't been doing that for them. So this should be pretty exciting. In terms of the release, hopefully we're going to get a press announcement in the next, maybe this month, maybe the next 6 weeks, something like that, regarding this. And it should be going on sale sometime around December of this year as a 2022 model. So how about pricing? Right now, the Tundra starts at $33,825. And it goes up from there. There's not a lot of choice right now in the Tundra marketplace. You basically got three different versions, the SR5, the Limited, and the Platinum. Obviously, if we go back to Ford, we've got so much more options, configurability, engines, everything. Ford absolutely dominates in this segment, although Chevy is doing very well too. So I think Toyota really wants to play in the same playing field as Ford does. That's going to be a very, very difficult thing for them to ultimately accomplish because, hey, Ford is pretty good at this and has a huge lead. I think Ford is the sales leader in this segment for a pretty obvious reason. So I think the pricing is going to have to go upscale a little bit, probably quite a bit actually, if they're introducing these new engine choices. So I think we can expect to see something probably a couple $1,000s more than the current base price. In my recent video, I said I was reviewing the CR-V Prime, which is not exactly accurate. I did review the CR-V Hybrid a while back. I'll put a link to that up here. Right now I'm reviewing the RAV4 Prime Hybrid. very cool. I'll have that up pretty soon. My name is Eric. Please subscribe if you haven't. That will really help support the channel. I will see you in the next video.